In 2025, America's tariff rates hit levels not seen since the Great Depression. Steel and aluminum, 50%. Cars, 25%. Even close allies like Canada and Switzerland were suddenly slapped with steep trade barriers. Trump says tariffs are a weapon to protect American workers. Critics say they're a hidden tax that every American pays. So who's right? And how are these tariffs reshaping the global economy? Let's break it down. A tariff is a tax on imported goods. Imagine a $30,000 Japanese car facing a 25% tariff. It now costs $37,500. The government collects the tax, but businesses and consumers end up footing the bill. Tariffs are meant to protect local industries, but they often trigger retaliation and higher consumer prices. That's why they're one of the most controversial tools in economics. Back in 2018, Trump launched his first big tariff push: solar panels and washing machines, up to 50%. Steel, 25%. Aluminum, 10%. Applied even to allies like Canada and the EU. China faced tariffs on $370 billion of goods, from electronics to toys. By 2019, US tariffs averaged 12%, the highest since the 1930s. According to the New York Fed, American households paid about $800 to $1,000 more per year in higher costs. To offset losses for farmers hit by retaliation, Washington spent $28 billion in subsidies, one of the largest farm bailouts in US history. In his second term, tariffs came back bigger than ever. By April 2025, the average US tariff hit 27%, the highest since the Great Depression era. Key measures: steel, aluminum, copper, 50%. Automobiles, 25%. Baseline reciprocal tariff, 10% on all imports, with some countries facing up to 50%. The IMF warned tariffs could raise US inflation by 1 to 2% annually and cut global GDP by hundreds of billions. And according to the Yale Budget Lab, 2025 tariffs are on track to increase US consumer prices by 1.8%, cost the average household $2,400 annually, reduce GDP growth by 0.5 percentage points, eliminate about 500,000 jobs by year's end. On February 1st, 2025, Trump slapped 25% tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico. Lumber, cars, groceries, all suddenly more expensive. Canada retaliated with $30 billion in tariffs on US goods like dairy and wine. Mexico targeted American corn, pork, and machinery. By summer, Canada partially rolled back some tariffs under USMCA rules, removing duties on about $21 billion in US exports, but keeping strong measures on steel, aluminum, and autos. The result? Prices rose on both sides, and cross-border tensions escalated. Tariffs hit US farmers especially hard. Mexico and Canada slapped duties on US agriculture: corn, soybeans, pork, dairy. This echoed the 2019 trade war, when the US government had to issue $28 billion in subsidies to keep farmers afloat. By 2025, history was repeating itself, with many farmers losing access to foreign markets just when they needed them most. It's not just farmers and cars. Toys are being hit hard too. Trump's new tariffs on Chinese goods were initially set at 145%, later reduced to 30%. For toy makers, that's devastating. Take WS Game Company. It's losing $8 to $10 million this year, about 30% of its revenue, forcing layoffs and higher prices. For parents, this means toys, from board games to action figures, are getting more expensive, just in time for the holiday season. The rest of the world hasn't stayed quiet. The European Union threatened lawsuits at the WTO, calling tariffs disguised protectionism. China warned of countermeasures targeting U.S. tech exports. South Korea and Japan lobbied hard for exemptions, fearing damage to their auto industries. Switzerland faced a 39% tariff in August, forcing it to consider defense and energy concessions to reduce it back to 15%. India was hit with a fresh 25% tariff on its exports, punished for continuing to buy Russian oil, a move that rattled India's currency and bond markets.
Not all tariffs are on solid legal ground. The so-called Liberation Day tariffs, imposed under emergency powers, have already been ruled illegal by the Court of International Trade. Injunctions are in place, but the administration is appealing. This means part of Trump's tariff arsenal may not survive long-term court battles.
For Trump, tariffs aren't just economics, they're politics. They resonate with voters in states tied to steel, autos, and manufacturing. They're also a negotiating weapon. Impose pain, then bargain for concessions. For allies like Switzerland, that strategy already worked. For rivals like China, the battle is ongoing. But for consumers, tariffs often feel less like strategy and more like an extra tax.
So where does this leave us? Tariffs are raising revenue.
Nearly $94 billion collected so far in 2025. But that's just 1.8% of federal income. Meanwhile, they're raising costs for households, straining businesses, and stoking global tensions. Supporters call them protection. Critics call them self-inflicted wounds. Either way, tariffs are reshaping global trade, and everyone's watching what comes next. So, are Trump's tariffs saving American jobs, or making life more expensive for American families? That's the trillion-dollar question. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching Random Clickers. Don't forget to check and subscribe for more global stories explained simply.